You know what I love? Magic the Gathering. You know what I love about Magic? The color pie. Specifically, how it's expressed in card mechanics, art, and overall world building. Take for example our most recent trip in the multiverse to Arcavios in the Secrets of Strixhaven expansion. If you clicked on this video, I assume you at least have a base knowledge of this essentially being Magic's wizard college. Think of it like the university equivalent of your favorite fictional school. You know the one we're all thinking of. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. It even has some of the same tragedy tropes, like it being attacked by several different evil organizations, and the trauma of a teacher's past life somewhat reforming as they connect to a new one. But with Strixhaven and Magic worlds in general, there's an amount of world building that focuses on the colors of Magic. The thing on the back of every Magic card, well, most Magic cards. These little dots essentially show what the world of Magic is made of. Each color represents an ideal or universal truth within Magic's multiverse. So, on Strixhaven's plane of Arcavios, you work with opposing ideals in the color pie to build up the world, i.e., enemy color pairs. You have the belittling yet inspiring words of Silverquill, the paths of life and death with Witherbloom, the chaotic trance of Prismari, the mathematical wild growth of Quandrix, and the living history of Lorehold. So in this video, for each college in their current enemy pairs, we're going to well, that timing couldn't have been any worse. So Magic on Vegas literally just announced legally Hexhaven, which had been talked about a little bit, but instead of doing almost completely different schools, they're doing quite similar ones, which is interesting. So I'm just going to pivot a little in this video, and instead of doing a reality fracture sort of framing device, I'm just going to make an entirely different school. Still allied color pairs, still based on Arcavios, still a rival school, I suppose, and yeah, this is still technically my OC Please Don't Steal, even though Wizards kind of already had it in production for the last 3 years approximately, but we didn't know that. So yeah, I guess it's time to pivot, pivot, pivot! So what I really want to explore here is basically a new set of schools. But we'll need a new name to go along with this new set of schools. Therefore, in the series of videos that I'm making, we'll not be visiting Strixhaven, but instead the school of W쏘ᴛᴄဃ. Because we have a basis for Strixes and Swans being opposites. Also, Maya, because I suck at names. This will be a recurring theme. We'll be taking some time to look at flavor, mechanics, and of course, my favorite part of the process, brewing some sweet fake cards. With the schools of Strixhaven, they all have a checklist of sorts. A legendary Elder Dragon, whose identity is the foundation of each school. Then there are the deans that pick one of the two colors of the schools, which matches a theme in its identity. The mascots, which are usually used by students for all sorts of things pertaining to the area of study. And of course, the students themselves. We'll have a card that shows off each of these, as well as a named mechanic that each school has for themselves to really show off its identity. So, without further ado, let's look at W쏘ᴛᴄဃ's answer to the School of Prismari. Hearthcoal. The College of Hearthcoal is led by the red and black aligned dragon Rasmius Hearthcoal. It is a culinary school focused on the magic of cooking and hospitality. In the series, it acts as a mirror to Strixhaven's Prismari, School of the Arts, because we all know the best barista in town is an art major. I went to college! Much like how Prismari has a wide variety of artistic pursuits, painting, dance, sculptures, and music, Hearthcoal also has a sort of wide variety of crafts, including 5-star dining experiences, bakeries, different styles of eateries and fashions, from food technology all the way to gastronomy. Looking at Prismari's red-blue identity, it's about the discipline and emotional expressions of art. Not to say that you can't be disciplined in non-blue pursuits, but blue mages will strive for that perfect precision. So what if you take that ideal and swap it with black's internal strive for personal gain? Gluttony, desire, instant gratification. Things that are already associated with the red-black color pair, typically more with a vile or punk kind of undertone to them. But here, we see it in fine dining and breathing. The students of Hearthcoal see two areas of study led by the deans of taste and texture. Taste is not only about the taste of the final product, as most things in the college are, but also about the taste of the experience. Do they prefer the fine dining? Do they want to find their next meal in a food truck down the street? What are they really into? This aspect is held in the color black. While red knows what it wants, black knows how to get it, knows how it wants it. I can also imagine there is an air of superiority that red lacks, like people arguing if pineapple belongs on pizza. Especially if you are creating and serving these meals, I imagine students focusing on this aspect of their learning will create your order to the letter, but judge you heavily on your life choices. The study of texture, however, borrows much more from Prismari's realm of self-expression in a quite literal sense. We aren't really changing red's identity in this pair. The College of Texture is my personal favourite style of cooking, which is, trust me bro, this is going to hit. The College of Texture is made of students who lived in snack households, but really wanted to grow up in ingredients households. They make boy dinner, girl dinner, everything in between dinner. They look in the cupboards, see the most random things, and turn it into a meal. Understanding texture means understanding the chaotic nature of flavor, oddly enough. Trust me, this analogy still kind of works. If you went to a restaurant run by students focusing on texture and you asked, "What's the house special?" you need to prepare yourself for the most interesting experience of your life, like eating an orange peel for the first time. So we know about the school, but what about the juice, the mechanics, the legendary creatures at the helm of these colors? Well then, let's dive in. I started with the school because it was quite obvious how we can create cards. Food school means food-related mechanics. Luckily, we've had food and food-related cards for a number of years now, seen mostly in black, white, and green, with some sprinkles of blue, and the least actually in red. Yet, this is still very well-charted territory for red. Red likes to make the tchotchke tokens: blood, treasure, gold, junk, etc. So, how do we reflect that in our spells? Starting off with commons and working our way up, the first lesson for the day is not an actual lesson, but instead a simple pie. Simple pie is one black pip artifact food that says, when Simple Pie enters, if you control a creature, add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Then you can do the food thing. Wizards has printed plenty of food artifacts, many even that only cost 1 generic to cast. So I extended my brain to look into the identity that I've given black in this school of taste. Have it how you want it. Choose how to best utilize your own magic, tools, or in this case, food. And there's a kind of spell that not many colors outside of red or black can do. Rituals. A type of spell that lets you go positive on your available magic. Cabal Ritual, Dark Ritual, Desperate Ritual, Pyretic Ritual, so many different types of rituals. Many chefs and bakers, both home and otherwise, tend to have a common meal that they make over and over again. So much so that it becomes a ritual. And I chose to add 2 colorless here because it kind of makes sense to be able to activate the food right away, but it doesn't restrict your use for this. So instead, you can use it to activate the abilities or cast other spells, like this one. Burn, a sorcery that costs 2 generic and a red to deal 5 damage to any target. But you might have to forage to get there. One path leads to another, and of course, Hearthcoal's unique mechanic is foraging. So in tandem with the simple pie you just made, you can burn it to deal a whole lot of damage to someone's ego. Not to mention the extra 2 generic you get from the pie pays for the colorless in the casting cost. Perfect synergy, no notes. One of the other things I wanted to theme into the school of Hearthcoal was competition food, shokugeki style. I imagine a lot of egos in the school mean they want to do battle so badly. So we have a common card here to rep this. Accursed Competition Chef. When this creature enters, each player creates a food token, then target opponent, the one you challenge to a food battle, must sacrifice a creature or lose the food they just made and 3 life on top of that. Basically, either admit defeat or taste defeat. Either way, I guess you win? Maybe a flavor fail, but I wasn't going to bring Clash into the conversation. Now I'm going to rapid fire through some other common cards that I made so we can kind of move up in rarity. Chef's Apprentice. I think this is super flavorful win because we can cast Burn with the 3 red it creates, and the flavor text of trainees try not to burn the food kinda works, while also theoretically having to sacrifice a food token to activate this ability. Also, the art is in the same kitchen as Burn. Nothing to Eat, a really simple card that shows up in its variants from time to time. This time you make a food on top of cantripping. I think it just kind of shows how well a chef can somehow make a dish out of nothing. Service Gnome is just a little show of what the mascot is for Hearthcoal. The gnomes are like these little guys that vary in size for whatever job it is they do in the kitchen, but we'll see more of them later. And again, flavor and mechanical win because Red loves doing this sort of stuff, and this way you can take an opponent's food for a turn in the mirror. And lastly, Strange Banquet, a decent removal spell that kind of scales with how well you generate food tokens, and I think in Limited this would be an all-star first pick in Pack 2 once you know you're in these colours. Moving on to the uncommons. We have a Charm! The choices you get as a Hearthcoal student is to do with your studies, by making food and learning about your spells, getting chewed out by a teacher for giving them food poisoning, or finally snapping on the job and just laying into an ungrateful Karen who deserves it. I feel like there are 2 real places where rage quitting is normalized: video games and service jobs. Though the number of times I've seen videos of employees finally fighting back, this might have served the flavor a bit better if it was a fight spell. Our next uncommon is actually quite a fun one flavorfully. I feel like Wizards actually dropped the ball by not adding this card type into the new set. It's Rooms. This is where Hearthcoal goes to get industry experience. The Test Kitchen and the Service Room. I know some, if not all, trade schools give students the opportunity to test their skills in a proper working environment that's more controlled than a real one, so this is kind of my attempt at that. I don't know the proper terms for these places, but you get it. The nightmare of a kitchen that makes the food and the people that eat it in the dining area. And maybe they don't like it and get angry enough to want to yell at you and the chef. I don't know. The haste and power. It's mechanical more than anything else. Next we have another example of the gnomes of Hearthcoal. So to put on my world builder's hat for a minute, as I mentioned before, the gnome mascots of Hearthcoal are little kitchen buddies that aid in whatever it is a chef needs. The service gnome was an example of a larger gnome doing its best waiter impression, like those service robots you see in certain styles of restaurants. These gnomes, however, help directly with newer students learning what ingredients to use and where. Remember, the black colour half of Hearthcoal's pair is about how you get your desired outcome. So these guys give you the tools needed for the desired one. All resources, all at different amounts for different things. That's our ingredients gnome. Finally, before we rapid fire, I'm going to introduce you to our student. My favourite anime chef, Soma. Balls. Yes, I used a bait and switch joke to also tell a D's nuts joke. Get on my freaking level, dude. Anyway, Soma. He's a 4/5 with lifelink, and whenever you create a food token, this creature becomes prepared. Then for his prepared spell, it's basically a sorcery speed lightning helix that requires the sacrifice of a food. This is a whole package in itself for a prepare creature, I think. Prepare is a very new mechanic, so it's still kind of up in the air if it ends up being a really well balanced mechanic or not. So I think this is a good, safe example. Our rapid fire uncommon lists includes Showy Perfectionist, another creature that loves to take part in food competitions and win gold for their food. Not gold tokens, but treasures. Plus, I love writing flavor text, and you know it hits different when even your non-magic brained homies can giggle at it. I'm also really proud of the kit bashing job art I did for this one. This next card kind of stemmed from the art that I wanted to do more than anything. This X-Spell, I think, is maybe too strong for an uncommon slot, but it essentially works the same as W쏘ᴛᴄဃ or Debt to the Deathless. You can pay for the X by foraging, which is in flavor, and I think it's a good example of what is possible when you design certain keywords or abilities, as Wizards hasn't actually done much with forage yet, surprisingly. On to our rares now, starting off with just a really funny card. Special Ingredients with a CE. Because there are some people in my life that spell things incorrectly for fun, and I love them very much. But equally as funny as the name, art, and flavor text is, I think this rare is no joke. Not only is it a food generation machine, but it also gives you an insane way to output that generation back to the battlefield in a meaningful way. This essentially means that any high power creature that might be held back due to a lack of evasion can smash its way through, and if there is a creature you mean to sacrifice for one reason or another, the classic red-black shenanigans can occur. I intentionally made it to trigger in the pre-combat main phase. Well, it could have said upkeep as well, but if you could trigger this after casting any creatures, I think it would just be broken. You essentially chuck down a massive beater and give its power encounters to something that can attack that turn, or if it has better keywords. Making the activation cost only 1 generic to activate also gives this late game potential. If you haven't already thrown away all your food, you can give a massive boost to an otherwise poor threat, or multiple. Next up, we have our Deans. Taking inspiration from the MDFC Deans of old, I give you Olivier, Dean of Taste. A 1-drop 3/3 with haste that gives everyone a food token because you really have to try his recipes. You must eat his food, because if you do, he goes away. I'm really proud of this one from a design perspective. Not only does it give you the opportunity to save Olivier on your turn post-combat, or if the blocks you thought were favourable turn out not to be, but also allows your opponents to make the decision to either save their food to bounce Olivier back to your hand so you keep your food generation, or use it now to gain back that 3 life they just lost to your attack at the cost of possibly time walking them if you play this on curve. Returning it back to your hand also allows you to play the other Dean in the late game. Fiari, Dean of Texture. Players can't gain life turns off any chance at your opponents using the food you've thus far given them, and even more incentivizes them to crack them anyway to lessen the chance that the damage that he can deal with his attack trigger. The attack trigger also doesn't just check the food you sacrifice with it checks all food sacrifices. By foraging, other additional costs, regular use, or from other activated abilities. And the last card I want to share before we move on to the big one is the titular mascot. Not just any old mascot that would otherwise be sitting at common or as a playing token. No, this one is self-replicating. Hearthcoal mascot. Affinity for food, and whenever you sacrifice a food, create a token that's a copy of this creature. I love the idea that the gnomes in my OC please don't steal schools are self-replicating, semi-mysterious beings that may or may not have sprung from a single creation that the original Elder Dragon Hearthcoal made himself. It would be busted to not somehow cap the generation ability of this guy. Once a turn might be the wrong way, maybe it should be 1 or more sacrifices or be a delayed trigger like Marchesa, but yeah, if I were designer for Magic, I'd love to throw in little world building cards like this that are still extremely playable rather than a sort of average removal, draw, or mana dork. So finally we come to our last card of the evening, our Mythic Dragon, Razmir's Hearthcoal. A 5-cost 3/3 hasty flampler that gets bigger the more food is destroyed by its enters ability. A fine finisher in its own right that kind of takes away partly from one half of the school's identity in that a lot of cards want you to sacrifice food, not destroy it. I suppose it could read each player sacrifices all their food and enter with a counter for each food sacrificed this turn, which would actually be maybe too good. I of course don't get the pleasure of playtesting any of these cards, so while I think my idea has potential, there's definitely a lot of things you could change about it, but still keep the identity and flavour, both in world and how I've decided to portray the art. Congratulations! You've graduated to the end of the video. Well done on passing all your exams. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you, in fact, that I got this fancy thing called a subscribe button. Apparently you push it and something awesome happens. I also got you this bell that's supposed to be more important than the button, but I don't know how it works. If you do know the answer, get in the comments and tell me about it. If you don't know the answer, click on the share button and share this video to someone who does. You can also stay tuned for the Unscripted Yap about the artwork itself and artist credit stuff too. I also have more schools and more photo kit bashing planned, so stay even more tuned to the channel for the next video in the series. But without further ado, thank you for listening, and here's the art-focusy portion of the video. Cheers. Okay, so we're going to start with the artwork of all the cards that I went through. So obviously this is just the Cursed Marauder with utensils and a hat. The next card, Burn, has the kitchen of this copy of Sacred Foundry by Alexander Fosberg. Let me just get up there. Do that. With Tragic Arrogance, Winona Nelson, Galvanic Discharge, Zoltan Boros, and then the next card, which is Fiari, has Radiance Judgment. You can see the guy's face down there. I mostly used it for the crowd. Blaze is his pose that he's doing. God, I love some of the old Magic artwork. The background actually has Rolling Tremblor in it, and I think that's all for that. Yeah, this is got bits of Candy Trail. I don't even think I made it into the art of the card. I think I just zoomed up on this random symbol I made, where Asmoron Amada Kadasta and Kuldakar's doing in Discerning Taste. Pretty simple. Oh, this was one of my favorites actually. So it starts off with Dig Site Conservator, and I really do love the gnomes from Echelon and all that stuff. So I took a bunch of Echelon stuff. Thousand Moon Smithy, they're kind of already doing work, but I kind of wanted him to be making a gnome, so I also took this Fabrication Foundry art, just the guy in the middle, and he's like holding him, and he's brushing him with, I don't know, purple stuff, and then you see this guy in the background, Alchemist's Apprentice, who is probably a giant compared to these guys, and just giving him a little hand, and then Windfall. I just made this, I needed to make the entire thing big so that I had like scale done. So it starts off with Windfall, and then you see the mana silexes as well, to sort of be ingredients in the bowl. Then the Merchant's Dockhand was our little gnome for this one. I wish I found Echelon gnome to go with the sort of other gnomes in the set that I made. This one, for Nothing to Eat, I wanted to find a really memey image, and this was the closest one I got. We do use another SpongeBob image as well. You know, SpongeBob's definitely a Universes Within. Certainly a very popular secret layer, that one. And then we go with Olivier's art, which is based off of Jamie Oliver. And you can see this shouty lady here is here, and he's down here as well. If you have never seen this pose before, you probably would never have guessed it was from Johnny Combo Player, but yeah, Johnny Combo Player, absolute excellent piece of artwork here by Kensuke Okabayashi. I hope I said that correctly. And then a bit more of the background from Dernan's background here, just some guys in the back. And then lastly, this ring here, because yeah, I wanted something fancy on him to be like that. So yeah, Social Climber's little ring there. Rasmia's Hearthcoal. Now this one, oh God, this one took too long, and also I completely forgot what the background is, where this bird comes from, and where these ibex, I guess, come from. We obviously have the Dragon Spark Reactor mouthpiece here. Nesting Dragon is like the base of it all. I'm just gonna quickly search art ibex. Not an ibex. Goat. Because the whole point of the joke was the lamb sauce joke, so I wanted to find something. There we go. Capricornian. By Nicholas Gregory. Then this next one, Service Gnome, an alternate version of Xander's Lounge, which I've just mirrored. The base of the card was also Hotfoot Gnome. I just thought that was so good. I could not have him being chased around, which was excellent. These guys here from Brilliant Plan, having a seat at the dinner, and then also this guy, who I thought was Elquist Prof, but might not actually be. But yeah, thank you, Ekaterina Burmak. And then yeah, this was probably my most proud achievement of just getting like the swish to interact with the apple here. But yeah, Cremate, excellent card, does show up as just itself in the video. Captive Audience in the background here, as well as the fruit is from Bountiful Harvest, just this little guy. And then this was just random, I kind of just made it myself, and the background, I don't know where that's from, I just googled an image, and then yeah. Next one, this is also a very funny one. You know, you got to have a lot of fun with this sort of stuff. So started off with Magic Pot, because he is the ingredient, and then we moved on to having the kitchen from Triskaidekaphile here as well. Refraction Trap Goblin guy, and then I didn't realize it until just now, but this pot is different from any of that other art before. I think it's from Miss Bumbleflower. Let's see. It's not Miss Bumbleflower's share pot, that's for sure. This is basically my whole thing, by the way, is I get an idea, I find magic card art that has something that I'm looking for, and then I just do an art tag to find a pot. Yeah, we've already seen a whole bunch of the other. Nope. Oh, I cannot find it. Oh well, I'll have to find it another time then. And then yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So Hobblefiend is this guy, the Accursed Witch, this lady. Oh, that's the next card. And so this is Crowfoot Haunch. He's eating the bagel schmear. That's Chef's Kiss. That is that Bernard guy that makes food, the 3-color golem guy. This is Anchovy Pizza. This is the soup that guy makes in Dockside something or other. It's one of the Kamigawa cards. This is actually an apple with teeth. You can't see them, not even when I zoom up, but it's something from Sweet Night's it's Bite. It's a, hang on, let's go through this process again. Let's go bite, color, black, because I'm pretty sure it's a black card. There we go. Candy Grapple. You can see it has the teeth there. And then Balden, this guy in the back. Nope, that's what? Okay, no. We will go. What's his? It's E. Honda, who's the guy that it's based off of, and then the universe is within. Baldin, that's what it was. Yeah, you can see I sort of copy and pasted his hand there. But yeah, there's a lot going on in there. And then we have still not this, hilariously enough, but it is Dual Caster Mage with Ad Nauseam and one of the Angraths. I just thought it would be really funny if a student was sort of force feeding, or force drinking, I suppose, their experimental food upon someone. Okay, so this was the room that we saw before. I don't know. Gosh, do I have to re-find it again? Let's go searching. Let's go. Type room. Art kitchen. Here we go. Crude abattoir, unsavory kitchen. So I took the unsavory kitchen side of it, and that was kind of the basis for the thing, and again used the Krusty Krab to sort of meld in to have like a funny juxtaposition between the two halves of the art here. And now we get back to here. This is the Goblin Firestarter that has been hanging about in the same kitchen as the burn spell, as well as the Witch's Oven that you can see here.